Hello, I am Ruby Northcutt.
And I'm Karen Wilson, and this is the Up Beat.
During the show, we will be talking with individuals from within our own community and beyond.
We'll discuss topics and issues that are relevant to our guest and the multifaceted roles they take on in society.
This is the Up Beat. Welcome back. I'm Ruby Northcutt, and this is the Up Beat. Our first guest tonight is Carla King. She is the director of Main Street McMinnville. Welcome to the show, Carla.
Thank you, Ruby. It's nice to be here.
I know that there's a story behind getting to the point of being our Main Street director. Why don't you give us some of the history and how you came initially from Tennessee, because I know that you're not from Tennessee initially.
No, I'm actually born in Tampa, Florida, moved up to Georgia, lived in Georgia most of my life, raised my children there. And then I met my current husband, Tim King, at a dance in Atlanta, and he actually is born and raised here in McMinnville. So I moved here to McMinnville and helped him raise his 4 children. And then while I was here, Amy Jo Stanford was the Main Street director at the time, and she asked me if I would come on board and help her out, and the rest is history.
You've done a lot of volunteering since then,
Yeah.
and I have seen a lot of the progress, as well as our whole community has seen the progress of Main Street McMinnville. Tell us where you first discovered the love of volunteering.
You know, I don't know. I think maybe my mother, you know, a lot of times it's something that you're raised with. It's just something that you do. I remember when my mother used to work at Western Auto, and it was Christmas time. And, of course, people wanted their gifts wrapped. Back then, they wrapped the presents. So, of course, she brought her children to help her out. So I loved it. It was just, you know, it was something I love to do, and it's something I continue to like to do. It's volunteering and helping others. It's lots of fun. People are missing out on a great opportunity.
You know, you're a natural at volunteering. You had examples of volunteering. But what about people who are really not for sure of themselves? What areas do you think they should begin in if they're interested in volunteering?
First of all, they need to find out what they truly love. If it's flowers, if it's animals, if it's history, and then find an organization that fits something that they're interested in, and start small. They don't have to necessarily, you know, spend 24 hours a day doing this volunteer work. They can just maybe once a week or once a month, and then once they get to what they like, then they'll even go into even more different organizations that need their assistance.
Can you give us a local example of an area where someone could volunteer, and basically how much time it would require for them to give of themselves?
There are so many organizations out there. Meals on Wheels, the Senior Center, Heritage Alliance, Main Street. We're needing volunteers all the time. So there are so many organizations out there. And if anybody would like some more information, I'll be happy to help them out with that, if they can call the Main Street office.
Give me an example, I guess, not just for me, but our viewing audience as well. What was one of the biggest rewards that you received from volunteering?
You know, it's almost like with Main Street Live. When we do Main Street Live, and it takes lots of time and effort, lots of volunteers that put that event together. But when you step back and you look at the audience and you watch people visiting and you watch, you know, you see that they are spending time with each other, you stop for just a second and you go, okay, it was worth it. It was worth all of it. So just seeing the people enjoy and people, their benefits from efforts that you make, it's worth it. It really is.
When people see you, and I know personally I've seen you in a lot of the activities that you have participated in, they sometimes forget about the busy life behind the scenes of this very active volunteer. I know about your family, and you suggested a little bit about them earlier on in our conversation, but give us a little more detail about just how much involved you are with your family in that area and how many. I know that you've got several children.
Yes. Well, I have 6 of my own children and raised them, and then I have 4 stepchildren, and I've raised them for the last almost 11 years. I have 9 grandchildren. And so that keeps me busy. Birthdays.
So we're all thinking now, this is a lady that has 10 children, and she's been busy volunteering, and now she's our Main Street director, and we're wondering, where do you get that energy?
Well, you bring your children with you, and you put them to work, so they help out a lot as well. I don't know.
That's one thing I want to hold on there for just a
Okay.
moment. A lot of times when we are volunteering, we forget that people are observing us. And we also want to teach our children the value of volunteerism. How did you do that with yours? Other than just bringing them on the set and that type of thing where you're working in that particular arena.
Sometimes that's all it takes, just having them there. You know, having them run errands or having them take flyers or having them, and then they start loving it. They start thinking, well, this is fun. They really enjoy it. And you get to learn a lot about your community that way. You get to meet a lot of people that you normally wouldn't necessarily meet. You know, people that are influential in the community, where you can voice your opinion and maybe do some help and some good in the community by being able to say your views.
I think that one of the areas that I read in your bio was genealogy.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I know that I'm interested in some of my family history. What can you tell us as far as genealogy, which is a particular form of volunteerism when you start searching?
Yeah.
Where do you go and how do you volunteer and get into that?
Well, we have a wonderful library here at the Magnus Library. We have a genealogy library upstairs. Brad Walker, he's over that. And if anybody wants to know anything about Warren County, McMinnville, he knows. So if you have any roots here, that's the first place to start. And with our church, we have a family history library that anybody could go to. It's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And we have a library that has lots and lots of genealogy and family history.
Does that have public access so that if
Yes.
someone is looking, that we can go and search out our names and
Yes,
go from
of
there?
course. But I do have a warning. It's addictive. It really is.
I'm sure it is, and there's a lot of discoveries there. I know that whenever I was searching, I found a lot of things myself, and it's a wonderful, wonderful hobby starting out as a volunteer and also helping others.
Lots of fun.
Now then, I want to go back to your philosophy of life.
Yeah.
You have a very unique perspective of inspiration.
Well, thank you.
We've talked about that before.
Yes.
And we talked about it a little bit in more detail, but can you give me a synopsis of your philosophy of life?
Well, I have found what works for me, and it's if you look back on your life just to learn from the mistakes, but you look briefly. You just don't look too long at the back or the past, but you look forward and you learn and you improve and you grow and you progress. So look back if you need to, but look forward to improve and grow and to live.
I think that's one of the most wonderful philosophies. That was very inspirational to me. Thank you for that inspiration so much. I know that others will benefit from that. And please don't go away. We will be right back. This is the Up Beat. Miss Rachel Killebrew will be right back with us. We'll be right back after this sponsor. Welcome back to the Up Beat. I'm Ruby Northcutt, and our guest tonight is Rachel Killebrew. Rachel, thank you for being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Now, you know that tonight's topic is volunteer.
Yeah.
And we know that you're one of the top-rated volunteers in our community. I want to congratulate you first on winning the Citizen of the Year Award through the Chamber. The remarkable bow that they gave at the meeting that night was just simply wonderful, and we want to congratulate you, especially all of us here on the Up Beat.
Thank you.
And then I want to start with that. I want to also start with a recent event that you did, the art exhibit. You're still busy. You're doing something for the library. Share with our audience some of those things.
Well, I'm on as a library trustee on the board of directors, And we're just so fortunate to have people in this town that are committed to the library also. Mike Galligan did an art show, and he donated all of the proceeds to the library. And that includes, he paid for the framing, he did the painting himself, he paid for the food, he paid for the staff, he did everything and donated it. And I'm so excited. We had over 400 people there. Everybody had a good time. Mike said, I want it to be fun. I want it to be profitable for the library, but we've got to have fun. So we did. We had a great time. And so far we have sold 26 out of 33 paintings.
Wonderful.
And we have raised over $10,000 for the library.
Congratulations.
And we're so thankful for that, because most people don't realize that the library, the funding we get from the county and the city, only pays for about 2/3 of the salaries. Doesn't cover any of the funds to buy books or do maintenance on the library building or pay for utilities or all the expenses we have. So we have to do that through fundraisers. And Mike saw that we needed some help. We have some boiler problems right now that we've got a $4,000 bill to pay. And he saw that, and so he volunteered to do that. And recently, he also donated a $4,000 grand piano to the library.
Oh my goodness.
The piano we had there before, I played on when I was a little girl. And it just got to the point where it couldn't be tuned anymore. And we had a concert pianist there for a concert one night. And he tried to very tactfully tell us that our piano had seen its better day. So Mike stepped up to the plate again and did that. So we have some
congratulations to him on behalf of the Upbeat and our audience. I know that is another way, as a volunteer, that we can volunteer through our art and our talent. Now let's go back and talk about your background some. You work for the aerospace industry.
Yes.
What was it like to work with the stars?
It was wonderful. I majored in math and German at Tennessee Tech, and I was just very lucky that at that time the Germans were running the space program with Werner von Braun at the head, and there were 16 of them, and IBM was going around the country looking for 16 programmers who could have German and math as their major. And so I got selected as one of the employees and worked at Kennedy Space Center then on the Apollo program.
Now, not only is this lady a very busy volunteer, but she has also a personal life that is very busy. Tell us about your home life to some degree. You're a mother?
Yes, I'm a mother and a grandmother. Have 2 grandchildren that are now grown, and I'm going to visit them during college spring break next week. They live in Galveston, Texas. And my son and my daughter-in-law are both marine biologists, so they're very busy, and the grandchildren have always come and stayed with me during the summertime up here. So I've been very fortunate with that.
All right, let's take on our topic of volunteerism. Somewhere in your lifetime, you had a pivotal moment that said, I'm going to be a volunteer. When did that happen for you?
Well, it happened when I was working for Trans World Airlines. We had a goal of trying to automate all of the maintenance overhaul bases for the aircraft. So I was on the plane constantly for 17 years. I rode on a plane. So I thought, what can I do to pass the time, help the airline, and do some good? And so I started helping people that I would see that were stressed. Either they were
understand stress. I know our audience does as well.
Yeah. Either they were afraid of flying, I got so I could spot that, or they had children and they couldn't handle them, or they were elderly and on a walker. But I would scout out while we were waiting to load the people that were in the most need of help. It helped the time to pass for me. I felt good that I made their experience a little better. And of quite often they had left with a better impression of the airline. So I felt like it was a win-win situation for everybody. So I continued that for my 17 years.
So not only can we volunteer within our personal life, but we can also volunteer within our business life. Now, going back to that, when did you first come back to McMinnville, and what precipitated, I guess, that decision?
Well, I came home one weekend and went downtown, and the Sudbury Hotel had been torn down, and our beautiful street lights were gone. Our downtown was dead and just very uninviting, and I sat down on the curb and cried, and I said, my first opportunity to go back home, I'm going to go home and I'm going to do something about that. And so I did.
And so that's one of the first things that we experience as we look into the value and the rewards of volunteerism, is that we usually have some form of emotional contact regarding that situation. What do you think is your philosophy regarding volunteerism, and what advice would you give our audience? Because we're running a little short of time here, and I would like to get that in as quickly as possible.
Well, with me, it starts with a passion for something you see you want done. And for some reason or another, it's not being done. And so rather than complain, I'm not a person to complain and sit back and expect somebody else to do it. I feel like once I have that emotional event, I need to do something about it myself. So I generally try to seek out other people and say, do you feel the same way I do? Or am I the only one? And if they do, then you gather like-minded people and you start doing your research of how did it get this way? What can I do about it? What are the best avenues to make it a win-win situation? And then you do it.
And that's the essence of volunteerism.
Yeah.
And we hope that you pick up on these two inspirational women. Carla will be back. We're going to break for a commercial break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Up Beat, and tonight's topic was volunteerism. And our two inspirational guests tonight was Carla King from the McMinnville Main Street, and Rachel Killebrew, volunteer extraordinaire and recent winner of Citizen of the Year. Very worthy. You're very worthy of that. Congratulations again on behalf of the Up Beat. I'm interested again in just a few more topics of volunteering. You mentioned in our last conversation that you were interested in doing a seminar on volunteerism. Have you made any progress in that yet?
I'm still gathering information, people that I've talked to, kind of like what Rachel said, once you get an idea, you gather the people that feel the same way. And I've had a lot of people that thought it would be a good idea. The idea is to gather together the organizations and different groups that are needing volunteers, and having a seminar and have them all meet together in one area. And people that are interested in volunteering, it's a safe place for them. They can come and talk and find out what each organization does and what a volunteer would need to do. And it would be, where they wouldn't have to necessarily commit themselves. So it would be a safe place for them to do that. But, yeah.
And that's wonderful knowledge. Rachel, I want to ask you, what's your next project?
Well,
Wow.
probably the Blue Building again. Now that it's empty again, I think in March, Neil Schultz has started a nonprofit organization, and we're going to try to make that building a profitable part of our downtown community and restore it and get jobs and all of those things. And we have several ideas that have been brought forth to us that we're going to pursue all of them until we find the right one.
And I think I asked Carla this question, but I don't think I asked you. Maybe I did. But what do you feel was your greatest reward in volunteering? Do you have just one?
Well, that would be hard. It would probably be between seeing the downtown master plan completed, seeing the statue restored, and thanks to you all having our original fountain downtown. That makes me feel so proud every time I see it. And restoring the library. That has been a huge project. It is wonderful, it is beautiful, and it's restored to all of its glory. And all of those things I just feel so wonderful about. And it took a lot of people, a lot of time, and a lot of money, and it all came together and happened.
Once again, I want to reiterate that the value of volunteerism is giving of oneself and service. There are many areas that you can give of yourself, even if it is a small area, like teaching someone to learn to read better, or just reaching these two ladies and they'll be happy to direct you in some format to get you to an area of volunteerism where you can also receive personal fulfillment and also possibly personal greater success. I know I have benefited from a lot of the programs that these ladies have volunteered and come to fruition for them, and not just these ladies, but a lot of other volunteers within this community and beyond that have helped make a lot of these projects for us come into being. I want to invite you back to the Up Beat. We are aired every night on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 7 p.m. and at different times during the day. We want to thank you for being with us. We want you to join us again. This is the Up Beat. I am Ruby Northcutt. We hope you continue to find inspiration in the things that you do, as well as inspire others. This is, again, the Up Beat.